Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. So, yeah, some of you know that we would like for you to be on video if you can. It's going to be very informal here tonight. It's not going to be a big group either. So, this is the first time we're doing this specific masterclass. So it's a little bit of an experiment, okay? But that's great because then you're going to get a lot more information because we're a smaller group. So, Alex, if you can make sure that me and Maria are kind of on the speaker view so that we, kind of stay there. And so as many of you come on videos, that's great. And also, where are you located? If you can put that in the chat. So where are you located? So for us, I'm gonna have here Maria tonight, as she's a guest. She also coach in the REIW community and also a real estate broker as well. So Little Rock, Big Sky, Montana, oh beautiful. California, St. Louis. Yeah, I know you,
Yay.
Teresa. Okay, who else? And I assume most of you are licensed here tonight. Is that correct? Because the masterclass tonight is tailored for licensed agents that are looking maybe to get into investing, but they have some concerns and some questions. Now, make sure you stay until the end because we're going to have a special things for you. A couple of things is you're going to get the Agent Investors Toolkit. You'll receive it tomorrow via email. So our team here will record everybody that stayed until the end. So that's one thing. And the number one is, if you have any Q&A, also we're going to stay till the end. And we're going to keep this brief. I like to keep it under an hour because I'm sure everybody has other things to do on a Tuesday evening. But yeah, so let's get going. I'm going to share this slide just to keep us on track and make sure that, and I'm going to ask for your feedback a lot too. So pay attention because there will be times where I'm going to ask you guys. And honestly, like I said, this presentation tonight is kind of the first time we do it. And so we're still in the works and developing to make sure we give it the best value. So let me go ahead and share. Bear with me. I usually don't do this. Liz does. So uh, I'm not doing it perfectly here. Let's see, where is my stuff? Okay. Okay, so how to become an agent investor masterclass. So like I said, tonight is about really answering some of your questions and talking from some experienced agents slash investors. Maria is a real estate broker still active today in St. Louis. I was an agent, a broker for over 20 years. I'm not right now. So there are pros and cons. And then we have Doreen here this evening too. And she's also with our EIW community and she's a real estate agent in Chicago. So we have experiences here across the board from different places. So, I think we're qualified to talk about how to be an agent and investor. So the first thing I want to do is bear with me here. Okay. As you know, a lot of you might have known Liz. She's not here tonight. She's not an agent. So she's like, I don't have to be on there. So me and Maria will be talking about this today. So, Maria, let you go first. Tell a little bit about your experience, introduce yourself, a little bit of your experience, why you think you're qualified to be here tonight to talk about experiences as an agent slash investor.
Sure. First of all, I'm in St. Louis, as I was mentioning in the chat. So it's always been the Midwest is one of the great markets for investors. So what happened is that when I decided to go into real estate, my past career before that, I was traveling with my ex-husband who was traveling internationally, et cetera, et cetera. So I was running an online business managing money for high net worth individuals. And when I came, his family is from here, from St. Louis. When I came to St. Louis, I realized that real estate was the way to go, especially because it just so happened, since we're going through a similar situation right now, this was 2007, and it was right before the Great Recession. And because I was managing investments for high net worth individuals, I kind of had my pulse on my finger on the pulse of the market, let's put it that way. And because of that, I knew that the economy was not doing as well as it had been. I was expecting something to happen. I don't have a crystal ball. It just so happens that I was really paying attention. And there were a lot of difficult situations. Now, you guys know, because you're in the business, that it's a little bit, it might not be exactly the same thing. I'm hoping certainly it's not nearly as bad, but the writing is on the wall for certain things to be changing in the economy and the real estate market. Because of that, I made the decision to go into real estate, which you might think, well, that makes no sense. You know, when the economy is tough or whatever, you might not want to do that. But here's the beauty of it. Being an investor allows you to take advantage of any market. In fact, right now, the more the market is frozen, which is what we're experiencing, the more it goes from a seller's market to a market where nothing is really moving because buyers want to buy, but they can't afford to. And inflation is up, all the things you guys hear on the news. This is a type of market where investors make even more money than usual. Why? Because a lot of people have to sell, but they can't sell because buyers cannot buy. Not only imagine in a market like this, somebody who has less than a stellar situation with their house, whether the house has some issues and it might not be able to do repairs or whatever it is, or somebody who has to sell quickly. I'm sure you've run, if you've been in the business any length of time, I'm sure you've run into all kinds of situations like this. So this is where investors shine. Not only, but so I came into the business, as I said, in 2007. I apologize for my kitten. She's still learning that when I'm on webinar, she shouldn't be jumping up on the table. So what happened is that I became an investor, and then just by chance, I decided, because I was a rehabber, I decided that I wanted to get a license to sell my own deals. Okay. However, because you can never plan for stuff that happens, 2008 happened, the market crashed, and that's when I realized that being an investor wasn't a great thing, because people were going into foreclosure, et cetera, et cetera. And I started specializing in short sales. Well, guess what? Because I was an agent, every agent was referring short sales to me. That is the beauty of having a license, because you have this trust. People know you're going to be doing things ethically. You're going to be in compliance with everything when you do things, as opposed to dealing with perhaps an investor that you don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to take care of your client, if they're going to be taking care of the agent involved and doing everything above board. So because of that particular combination that I had going for me, which was, again, being an investor and having a license, not only I managed to do really, really well, but I had teams under me. I mean, it's my business skyrocketed basically in a very short period of time. But also what happened is that since then, I made a reputation for myself for solving problems. And it doesn't have to be foreclosure problems, right? But just in general, for being able to take care of issues that other agents may not be able, though they're an agent, might need help with. Okay. And you guys might have run into stuff like this, again, houses that can't sell because maybe it smells like cat pee. I mean, let's put it that way. Let's go there. The fact is, there are times we can't help the sellers just with our license. So that's when the fact that you have more tools in your toolbox by being an investor and being able to work with different situations, you become a referral source for other people, for other agents. So I have had so many deals referred to me from other agents because the word spreads. You close one deal for somebody, or they know that you know how to take care of certain things, and all of a sudden, this is how you get a great reputation. So here we are, almost 20 years later. As I mentioned, I have and again, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can see that the market is changing. And because of how the market is changing, even more now, it is important to have those tools available to us, because there are people that need them. And sometimes just being able to list their houses and find the buyers is just not sufficient, because either we go to investors, but then we're leaving a lot of money on the table and we don't know who these investors are and if they're going to do the right thing. Whereas we have our sellers, our customers' best interest at heart. So not only we can help them knowing that everything is being done on the up and up, But we also make a lot more money because let's be clear, and let's be real about this. Investors make a lot more money than agents. I know this for a fact. I basically only list things now or act as an agent when it's family, friends, and I'll help them. Otherwise, it's not really even worth my time anymore. Because here's the thing, being an agent is extremely hard. As you guys know, you're working all the time, and oftentimes you're working for free. Stuff might not even close. As an investor, you're much more in control of your time. And all of a sudden it's a whole different world. That's why I am an investor, as I like to say 99% of the time. And so being an agent is something that has become not as much my primary concern, because again, I'm able to make a big difference by also being an investor. But I am called to do listings that then I take care of as well many times. My broker, of course, is aware and supports me in doing this because he knows that I do everything by the book. There are so many things you can do by adding this to your toolbox, and I think it's going to be fantastic. I'm glad you guys joined this evening, because here's what's happening. You guys, I don't know if you know the statistics. A ton of agents are leaving the market. The vast majority of agents, it's only 1% of agents in the market that actually make money by being an agent. Most people just run around, hustle, take time away from their families. They have no certainty, no predictability of profit, and we run ourselves ragged, and the results are just not showing, especially after the NAR settlement last year. We have a lot of agents taking cuts on their commissions, which are already not that much. And I just don't want this to happen to you. So I think we're going to give you some information that is going to open up a whole new view of the world this evening. So I'm excited about it.
Great. Well, yes, thank you for sharing. Well, as far as me, I know there's a small group, and I don't know, a lot of you know about me already. But I would just want to say that the main reason I got in real estate, honestly, to start with, was to pay for college. And so, but in the beginning, because I came like me and Maria, by the way, we're both from Italy. So if you wonder about our accents, so we both grew up there. And I came to the United States in 85. And in 87, that's when I got into real estate. But, I didn't understand a lot of the terminology, the legalities, and so forth. So that's why I got my license. I was more interested on the investing side of real estate, although I didn't know much about it. I just saw some late night infomercials, and it sounded really cool and interesting and making a lot of money. So I says, well, that's my American dream. But the thing is, I didn't understand a lot of the terminology, the legality. So, to me, it was scary. So that's why I decided to go into and become an agent. So actually, I was in Hawaii and I became a broker there. And but the good thing about it, I went to work for a company, and I wrote more about it in this book here that's behind us, me and Liz published. I went to work for a company that was about being an agent, but also being an investor. The developers from a lot of the skyline that you see now in Waikiki worked in this company, and they were women. And so that I was really inspired by that. And I worked there as an agent for 4 years. And then when I came back to the mainland, I decided I wanted to go and become an investor. One of the reasons was back then there, the commissions were pretty good. The house prices were really high. But what I didn't like is that I felt like I was a tour guide. I felt like I was taking people around the island and show them the island for free, and then maybe they buy a house, right? So I just didn't want to do anymore. It was not time for dollars for me. It was better to be an investor. It just made more sense. So I went into rental properties, and I stumbled into flipping contracts, which is wholesaling, did fix and flip and so forth. I did keep my license. So I had my license in Hawaii. Then I came to Missouri, actually. That's how I got to know Maria. And I got my license in Missouri again, but for my own use. I haven't listed anybody's property or done anybody work outside of it since 91. I kept my license until 2008, 2009. And then I also was licensed in New York back in 96, 97. So I've had license in 3 different states, but it was always for my own use after 91. And why did I put my license on ice, as they call it, and then I just let it go? Because when I started dealing heavily with short sale pre-foreclosures, it was actually better, not since I was the buyer, it seemed like it was better from the bank point of view that I was not an interested party as an agent. So I decided that I didn't need a license for the time being. And then honestly, I said, well, I don't need a license. But the thing is, they're good and positive things. And that's what we're going to talk about this evening, the pros and cons and things you need to think about. And also some of the misinformation that you might have about being a licensed agent. So I'm going to bring back the slides now. So bear with me. Like I said, I usually don't do this part. So I'm a little bit um, not sure what to do here. Okay. I think that's it. Okay. So let's talk about now. So we talked about me and Maria. We need to have a crash course next time on doing this because this is not working right. Okay. We do events. I write for different magazines. I always write from the prospect of being an investor, though. I don't write as an agent. So, like I said, I've now been an agent for about 17 years. We do events, like you see Maria's there. Now, a lot of our, by the way, the picture down to the left, Maria's an agent. The lady all the way to the right, that's Patricia, who is also a coach, and she's also an agent. She's an agent in Orlando. So, there are a lot of agency investors that decide to become investors. And a lot of our students, and some of you are here tonight, are also students slash investors. So that's why we thought that is an easy bridge and gap to educate a lot of the agents how you can be investors and you can have the best of both worlds, right? And also for the ones that stay here until the end, only if you stay until the end though, you're gonna get the agent to investor toolkit. Now, this is very valuable. First of all, you're going to get a checklist how to get started as an agent investor, some of the do's and don'ts. Now, this is another huge concern a lot of the students that we have that are agents. It says, how do I talk to my broker? What do I say to my broker, about being an investor? How do I present this? So I'm going to give you a couple of ideas on scripts on that. Also, must know disclosures and compliance best practices. We know that laws are changing pretty much everywhere as far as being licensed to be an investor, right? And we're gonna see more and more of that, which, by the way, I think is a real positive thing because that regulates the industry. Deal analysis worksheet. So that's a little different if you look at it as an investor than if you look at it as an agent. How we analyze deals, right? And and then the other thing is the leads in zip code of your choice. Now, I know you guys have access to MLS, obviously, but these are different leads. These are the ones that are off market. And I'm going to tell you, like, actually, my best way to find leads is I'm going to share with you when we send you this. Okay. So this is how I find off market leads because as an agent for many years, I worked both with on market and off market. Okay. So now let's get going. Why agents are perfectly positioned to invest. So do you want to share, Maria, why you think agents are perfectly positioned to invest?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are many reasons. I'm just going to focus on a couple that I think are huge. One, we have implied trust. So just the fact that, like Laura was saying, the reason she didn't know what was legal and not legal to do real estate, and she got a license. I mean, we have a training that a lot of investors don't have. We know what how to do compliance. We're very careful with our documentation. So we really shield ourselves from liability. And not only, but we go in with a heart of serving people. And that's a huge difference between, there are a lot of investors, obviously, that do things properly and do it with the right mindset of serving people and being the solution. However, I'm sure you guys have heard all the horror stories of investors that are not as ethical. So the fact that we as agents, and of course there are agents that are also unethical as well. I mean, at the end of the day, somebody wants to do the wrong thing, they can. But the bottom line is that when you are an agent and you have a license, you're much more careful with the things you do. Just the fact that we are always disclosing things and doing things on the up and up with our sellers, and it's just amazing. It gives us a huge advantage in the marketplace. I cannot tell you how many times my sellers have told me that they feel so comfortable because they know that, you know, there are many eyes looking at how things are going so that things are done properly. I run all my stuff through my broker, so it's always nice to have an extra pair of eyes. Now, you could be your own broker, and that's totally fine. But the point is that you know how much education we get. We got to renew our license every 2 years, do courses, et cetera, et cetera. Not every investor obviously is going to be as dedicated to continuing education as agents are. Just because of this, it means that we're on top of what's happening. We're always finding, you know, what's happening in the market. We have access to tools like the MLS, which is a very powerful tool because you can see exactly where we are with the market itself. That's how I know that things are changing. I'm just seeing how many listings are, you know, how long listings are sitting in the MLS, for example. We know how interest rates affect things. I believe that as agent, you might take all of this in stride and think it's normal, but I can assure you, not everybody is aware of these things. Okay, we do get all the. I'm sure if you're anybody like me, I get a million pieces of news in my inbox, and you know, so we do have the pulse of the market. Not only, but we have a network. These are all things that other people, for example, investors or people that are starting from scratch, going into real estate investing, they don't have access to. Okay. Just your network, the fact that, say you have a situation and you need a buyer for something, you can reach out to your office or to agents you might have worked with or whatever the case might be. That's huge, because a lot of the situations that we deal with as investors are, they have timelines. And so when you have access to buyers or to other agents who have buyers, that is a huge advantage. Other things, I mean, I could go on and on, the advantages that my license gives me as an investor, but just even the fact that I am able to, know the difference. And I think this is huge, the difference between when things are done properly and I know I can present a case and I've looked at everything, I've done everything correctly, as opposed to, and I've seen this, okay, because I work with a lot of investors and I work with a lot of agents. An investor that might not know how to present things and how to basically button up a file and that kind of stuff. Is a difference between you not only being able to make that much more money, because let's be real again, investors make a whole lot more money than agents for the same exact deal, but you know that the deal is handled properly. And that is huge, because I do believe that the vast majority of agents go into this profession because they want to do things right. Of course, we're attracted to the real estate because real estate is wonderful. We love it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this, because we work so much for very little pay. But it's also a matter of we just love, we want to be in this. But I see, again, so many agents that leave just because it's hard. It's hard right now. It's always been hard for agents, but you know, there are also been good times. But as it is right now, I'm seeing agents leave. And because of this, really, it's almost like when you're circling around something, you're so close, you can see that there are people making money off of this. But meanwhile, maybe your deals are few and far between, or you're finding a lot of competition because more agents are competing for less listings and less buyers. And so you're just not making the amount of money that you need to make. It is so important to have the ability to turn whoever, because let's think about it. As an agent, I can only go to a seller and say, I can find you a buyer. I don't know how long it will take. I don't know if we're going to have to drop the price. I really cannot give any guarantees. The moment that I go there and I can say, I could list your property. Maybe it is a listable property. Maybe it isn't. Okay. So just the fact that I might have to walk away if it isn't, that's a problem, right? Because now I'm walking away from a check and I'm not helping the person. But say that it is even listable. And now I have an opportunity. I have the chance to tell them I can list it and this is how much you might possibly make, or I can actually buy it. And this is incredible. This is something that only agents can do. This is why, and I'm just going to stop here because seriously, I could go on. In terms of, you have options, so many more options as an investor, because not only now you don't just list something, you can actually do what is best for the property to turn it into a profit, because not every property to an agent, a property is a property. You can only list it and find a buyer. But as an investor, all of a sudden this property could be a rental for you. All of a sudden you're working on passive income and retirement, which as agents, you know how hard that is to do. We have such lumpy businesses. It's very hard to even think about retirement. So now you can work on your retirement with rentals. Or, and by the way, you don't need gobs of money to do rentals. So if you have that in your mind right now, says, well, I can't afford to buy rentals, put it away, because that's not true at all. You don't need money to buy rentals. Laura has her entire life. I mean, she's gotten rentals by using other people's money. I'm sure maybe you can share some of that with us. But you can flip these houses, and again, you don't need your own money. I have flipped, I don't even know how many houses. I've never used my money to do it, and we can show you how to do all of that, obviously. Or you can just, it could be a wholesale for you. Now, here's the problem. If you've been in the business any length of time, you know wholesalers are big, bad investors. Here's the thing. There is the right and the wrong way of doing wholesaling. And here we only teach how to do it the right way. Because the fact is, we do want to help people. Again, I'm an agent. I would never do anything less than ethical, because guess what? It's my reputation. I've been in St. Louis doing this for 20 years. Things catch up with you. I always say St. Louis is the smallest big city, because everybody knows whatever you're doing, everybody knows. So it's very quick. You know, if you do things the wrong way, people find out right away, which I would never do anyway, because it's no good. There is no reason not to do things properly. It's just a matter of having the right education. And that's why we're here.
Right. I know you're very passionate about this topic, but you know, we have to go through a lot of it. So
sorry, Laura. Yeah, you know, you get me started here.
So it's like, yeah, it's but you know, the bottom line, I think one of the biggest advantages is what she said though. For me, when I was an agent, yes, you can have the option to say to people, you know, if this doesn't work for you, I can list it. I personally didn't list it, but I will refer the listing out because I didn't want to deal with listings. I was mainly an investor. So, but the thing is, you do the best interest based on the situation. And that was one of my biggest advantages, I would say, to having a license. Now, moving forward here, if I can, hold on. Let's see. Okay, so today we're going to call Why Smart Agents Are Moving into Investing, the truth about wholesaling. And this is a big one because a lot of agents, my students say they work with, they say, oh, wholesaling is illegal. It's not. Now, it can be done differently in every state, but that's not illegal. Talking to your broker with confidence. This is another big thing. And that's why I think the toolkit we're going to share with you is going to be really good, because this is one of the big sticky points a lot of students have also. How am I going to present this to my broker that I'm not going to just do listings? Leveraging your network for profit, how agents versus investors analyze deals, the path to freedom, family time, and retirement, protecting and using your license, three proven strategies, and turning hard to sell listings into profit and referrals. So like I said, we have a lot to cover, but we make it. And some of the stuff I'm going to need your feedback on it. So, you know, make sure you pay attention and stay focused here since you're going to go. Now, some of you, if are ready to say, I want to book a call and see how I can become an investor while keeping my license, just go ahead and book a call. Like I said, you don't have to give up your license. Actually, as things are changing now, I expect in the next few years that most of the states will require you to be licensed to be an investor. So you are already ahead of a lot of the investors out there. So we're going to see a lot of people stepping away. But you know, you did your license. You know, at the end of the day, you study, you take your state exam. I've taken state exams 3 times because I was licensed in 3 different states. It's not big deal, right? So book your strategy session with us. Let's see if there's anything we can help you really to move forward and about staying an agent and also using your license to become a successful investor. So team, it's if you can put the link here on the chat, that would be great. I see the link. Okay, great. Okay, now for everybody that books this particular sessions, I will have a special bonus for you. Okay, I'll have a special gift for you, but I'm going to tell you at the end. So stay tuned. Okay, so now moving forward. Okay, let's talk about you. Okay, so let me ask you a few questions here. What is your biggest frustration right now as an agent? I want you to type that in the chat. what do you think your biggest frustration is right now as an agent? And team, if you can pay attention and maybe take a screenshot or write some of these down, this is something that can help us also develop training. Serious leads, okay. So Alex, maybe you write this down because then we can do some articles and podcasts on some of these. So anybody else, what is your biggest frustration right now as an agent? Leads, okay, a lot of leads. Okay. Sue, Tanya, do you want to elaborate a little bit what you mean by serious leads? Because I know we have an issue like that with as an investor, but what about agents? Why do you have that issue? What type of leads are you referring to? Federal interest rates getting in the way of buyers making a move. People who are actually motivated to buy. Okay. Yes, so it's what I say, right? The serious leads and buyer. I know. That's what I felt like I was a tour guide in Hawaii. Time management, how to do everything. Actually, I think you work less as an investor than you do as an agent. Is that correct, Maria?
Oh, for sure. Not only, but you work on your schedule, not on other people's schedule. So you're not working nights and weekends if you don't want to.
Yeah,
That's huge.
and just you have so many moving parts and so much stuff you have to do as an agent and so much compliance on top of it that by the end of the day, if you take your commission and break it down by the all hours you put into it, you probably made 2, 3 times for the same hours if you had done investing.
Mhm.
Um, I'm still very new, so getting listings is hard. Okay. Great. Okay. So those are all very valid frustrations, by the way. Now, my next question is, what interests you about real estate investing? So why are you here tonight? What are you trying to get an answer to? And why real estate investing? Does it feel like it's the next step for you? Does it feel that it would complement where you are at? Share a little bit. I know we don't have a big group, so I really have to heavily rely on everybody here giving me a feedback tonight. So what interests you about real estate investing? Is it something, give me more freedom financially, so making more money, right? Is it something that you've been thinking before you even got your license, or is it something that came later? Later. Okay. Okay. Anyone else that wants to share? Well, while you type in, like I said, my interest actually came before because I was looking at these late night infomercials about these buying foreclosures, buying no, things no money down, and so forth. And I was like, that sounds really interesting. I want to do that. But I didn't know enough about the business and real estate and the terminology. That's why I decided to get my license. Oh, Teresa, freedom and being able to help my family. So it seems like here I would say the common denominator, and Alex, you might want to write this down in your topics, is that you feel that investing is going to give you more money than being an agent? I want to hear that. Do you feel that? Or do you think that? So ability to present more options to seller resulting more options for me to create income. Michelle says undecided. Okay. Christy says yes. Teresa is possibly okay. Okay. So yeah, I like the fact that it does give you more options as we talked about, to present to the seller. And the thing is, as long as you obviously you have to do full disclosure, right? You I'm a licensed real estate agent, but you tell them, I work with investors, including myself. So we have different options here. So as long as you disclose and you're up and up about it, nobody's going to get scared for you to be an agent or an investor. A lot of time I would say if I was looking for properties to buy, and flip, especially with wholesaling, I would say I'm a licensed agent. However, I'm not soliciting for business or a listing. I'm actually looking for properties for myself. And that's what I would say. And I would say that in the marketing material, if I sent letters, I would say them if I call and get on a call with them, a cold call, I would do that and I would tell them. And by weaving that into the conversation, you comply with the fact that you have to disclose you're an agent without making it sound like you're there just to, trying to get a business or a deal where they might have resistance to get a listing on that property, right? So what do you feel is holding you back from investing right now? Good. Okay, me? Okay. I assume, Michelle, this is an answer to this. Okay. Anyone else that want to chime in? Me? Oh my gosh, okay. They're recognizing that they are the problem, or they're the ones holding them back. And okay, so the ones that says me, what specifically about you is holding you back? Is that fear? Is that because you don't know what to start? Okay, so Leslie says nailing down a citizen so likely investor from afar, so doing virtual. Teresa says fear. Anything else? What's holding you back? One of the favorite quotes about fear is from Warren Buffett. It says fear comes from not knowing what you're doing. And so how do you conquer fear, right? You get knowledge, you get education. So it shouldn't scare you. If you guys passed and got your exam done, you know how to study and you know what to learn. Anyone else that want to share what is holding them back from investing right now? Let's call it out, the elephant in the room here, right? Stepping into something different, because you definitely have to think differently to become an investor. So sometimes you have to wear two hats, right? As you have an agent and an investor. Michelle says, not enough hours in the day between hospital job, real estate, and family obligations, juggling, then deciding which strategy makes the most sense for me. That's the thing. You have to, at some point, you have to make a decision, right? Where is your time better spent? Where is the most value for your time? And the fact that is you have to make a shift and a decision. And we all have 24 hours in a day. And in the beginning, you might have to budget. Time management is huge, to really time block and creating the time. But then you're going to start have to give priority to the one that's going to make the biggest difference in your life. So it is a process. Sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. Have you ever handed a deal to an investor instead of doing it yourself? This is a tricky question. I want to ask a lot of you. How many times have you given a deal to somebody and so, gosh, I wish I could have bought that one. I wish I could have kept it as a rental. I wish I could have done the fix and flips. How many here have that situation happening to them? Okay, this year has been full of investors for me. Good. And so you see somebody else making the money, right? I've had one taken away from me. Oh, that hurts. Maria, do you want to add anything on this? Because I know that you work with a lot of investors too, and we can't buy everything out there, right? You can become a property holder, but that must be painful when you have an investor and they take it away. But a lot of real estate agents, they don't realize that. They don't feel it's for them. They don't feel that they know that these investors might know or have more money or something that they don't have, which is not true. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, it's funny when you said that. I'll just keep it short because I could go on about this, but just the last thing that happened, I actually helped, it was actually one of our students. I helped one of our students buy a four family in St. Louis. And the whole time I wanted that four family so bad. And I had to convince her it was a great deal. And it was a fantastic deal. She's making so much money with it. And the whole time I'm thinking, why didn't I buy this myself? How many times we see, and again, I made a fraction of the money that I would have made had I bought that myself. And of course, it's one of our students, so priority, right? For that reason, I was like, I'm happy for her. But at the same time, it's painful. As an agent, you see you're getting this commission. Sometimes they beat us up on the commission too. The sellers, oh, can I cut your commission? Or to make stuff work, you have to give up your commission, which is completely unfair. We already don't get paid that much for listing. And then you see these people walk away with all this money. And so, yeah, it is painful. And it's not fair because really the only thing you're doing all the work really to close a deal. And the only difference is that you just don't have the knowledge the investor has. where they know how to make the profit, that they're going to be making. So that's why I think it's so important for an agent to know how to make money as an investor, whether you then go on to invest or not. I don't know why they don't share this. We get so much information and education that gets sold to us as agents. Nobody ever talks to us about investing, which is interesting. All the best realtors that I know, like the ones that do huge volume, they all own rentals, they all do flips. It's amazing. It's like a well-kept secret or something. So
I remember one time, actually, it was in St. Louis, about 20, 30 years ago, that I was 30 years ago, I was taking a class to become an agent, and I was sitting in the class, and this teacher said, "We're not here to teach you how to buy and sell real estate. We're here to teach you the laws so you can be an agent." And that stuck to my mind because I was like, they're not teaching you the business, they're teaching you only the do's and don'ts, right? And I was like, that stuck to my mind when she said that. And I was like, yeah, they're not here to teach you to buy and sell real estate. They're here to teach you because somebody was asking something in the classroom. So it's so true. And so you're going to see so many people, they say they make so much more money than I can. Why not me, right? Okay, so agent versus investors, the different mindset. Now, I want you to chime in here and help us fill us out. Okay, so what's the difference here between agents and investors? So I start this out. So agent focus on comps, right? CMA, comparative market analysis, where investor focus on ROI, which is the return on their investment. What's some of the things the agent focus on investor versus the investors? So some of the other things. I know for some of you it's hard because it says I don't have the investor hat on yet, right? So just try. Let's see what do you think the agent focus on that the investors do differently? Okay, so let me help you here. The agents focus on the transaction, right? The investor focus on the strategy. This is huge. The investor focus on, okay, what am I going to do with this lead to maximize my profit and the money on the table, so I don't leave money on the table. Where agents focus on the transaction. Okay, what else is there that people want to say? Do you want to add something to this, Maria? Doreen too. Doreen still here?
you should be, or is she? We lose her. Yeah, for example, one thing that agents is a little bit like who you were saying, they focus on the compliance, the documents, etc., instead of focusing on by doing very similar paperwork, probably less, to make that much more money when they get to closing. So closing is our target as listing agents. So you get to closing, that's the only money you make. Investors make money at closing. If you're an agent, you can make money at closing and after as well. So I think we cut ourselves short as well in the cash flow coming in from the same deal. So we have to do that many more deals than investors to even make.
Like Michelle said, finding the next client to buy or sell. So it's a very much of always rinse and repeat process as an agent, right? You always have to start basically from back to zero. Now, sometimes you get these clients that again are investors and they have several properties to invest. And then again, it's like, why don't you buy them yourself? Why do you have to list it for them, give it to somebody else? You got the inside track with these clients to get these properties, right? So the same property, you have different ways to look at it. And so at the end of the day, you're gonna make, I don't know, I don't know, commissions, 5,000, depending on the agency split. But you make 3, 5,000, 7,000 commission, and you can make double that as an investor from the same property. Or you can make all these returns over the year if you buy it as a rentals and tax deductions and depreciation and all the tax benefits. So at the end of the day, you made 3 to 5,000 commission, or you could be making 10, 20, 30,000 or more from the same property. So it's how you look at it, right? It's the same property, but you do a different outcome, different value. So this is something that you need to start thinking about because it's huge. It's huge once you start realizing this. Okay, so there are three proven strategies that every agent should know: wholesaling, buy and hold, and fix and flip. Now, let me tell you one thing. When I became an agent in Missouri, this was, like I said, I left Hawaii in 91. I got my license in 93 in Missouri. And the reason I got my license, and the same thing when I got it in New York in 96, the reason I got my license was because I wanted access to the MLS, because a lot of the stuff that I was buying as far as rental properties, as far for wholesaling, fix and flips, came from the MLS. And to this day, a lot of students, I get them going with what I call the MLS strategy. So there is a lot of properties and leads that you guys get, and the MLS has expanded tremendously over the last 30 years. I know you guys have all these tools and CRMs and other things that kind of built into it, but that's what you do. So any of these strategy can work for you as an agent, and actually for you is even a lower hanging fruit. You want to elaborate this, Maria, a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, like, seriously, when I start thinking about this stuff, I get excited. Obviously, you can tell. Because here's the thing, the holy grail for investors is the fact that if they have access to leads where there is no competition. As you well know, we're talking about foreclosures, we're talking about probate, all these things. This is stuff that's already out there to the public, right? And then you're competing, you might have bidding wars or whatever it is, which of course, as an investor, you don't want to do because you want to offer the right price. You don't want to have to offer more than what you're willing to buy something for. As agents, we have this inside track to the sellers, whether it's from us or again from other agents that have brought a situation to us. And by the way, guys, this is the beauty of this, is that as an agent, what are you hoping for every time you go see a house? You're hoping for this beautiful house. You want to sell it for as much as humanly possible so that you can increase your commission. You want to sell it and as quickly as possible, whatever it is. And anything that stands in the way of that is a problem. Okay, to the point that it might take you forever to sell it. It might be on the market for a long time. The seller is difficult to deal with. They don't want to price it where you want to price it. So many headaches. As an investor, it becomes when you are an investor, all of a sudden you don't have to have the perfect house. You don't have to deal with a perfect house. In fact, if anything, the houses that are hard to sell for an agent, those are the ones where we make the most money. So all of a sudden, that's how we become referral sources for all agents that you might know in an entire office. Say, hey, I'm buying all your houses that you cannot sell. And you guys know it's these days, as I said, days on market are going up. So I think it's incredible. Even if you're just an agent in a brokerage of like 10 people, tell them you're buying houses now, and you'll get leads. You guys are saying it's hard to find leads. There you are. This is the inside track that we have as agents. I am a referral for my entire office. Anytime they have a situation they cannot solve, they come to me. I got a ton of deals just from that. I have done presentations. We can get fancy here. I've done presentations for my office so everybody's aware that I am an investor and that I can help them with deals they cannot sell.
Right. And then you sit in a position to decide, okay, am I going to list it or am I going to wholesale it, flip the contract? Am I going to do rentals or I'm going to fix it up and sell it? So the thing is, then you can look at the best possible scenario for each lead that you come across. Okay, so let's talk about this one, how to sell listings opportunities. Okay, and again, I want your input here, so start typing in. So first of all, I'm sure a lot of you as agents get listings that have no equity, and there is no even money to pay a commission. And so unless you try to get more for the property, which would have worked a couple of years ago, than what the property was worth, nowadays with the price adjustments that we have, there is no equity. Okay, there are lengthy issues on title. You got to do all this work, go through probate, go through short sales, go all of that. And then maybe at the end, you are going to get a clear title that you can do something with as an agent. In the meantime, you have to work for free. Okay, Then we have distressed properties. These are properties that have to go to foreclosures, bankruptcy, um, and short sales, tax delinquent, you name it. There are issues, right? Distressed property, distressed sellers of distressed property where there is no money. Okay, so difficult sellers, some people you don't want to deal with. So what do you do with all these properties right now when you come across this? Let me ask you, what do you do with these properties? And then there are more hard to sell listings, I'm sure. Did I miss anything here, guys? Can you add in Maria, Doreen?
The crappy properties that look terrible, and you know, as I said, they smell like of cat urine and so on and so forth. Which, by the way, as an investor, I always joke about this, but it's so true. I call the cat urine smell, I call it the smell of money as an investor. Those are the properties you'll make the most money on, and those are the same properties that as an agent you can't help them. You cannot sell these properties, but an investor will swoop in and make a ton of money on that. So yeah. In the stress areas, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So now what do you do with these properties? If you come across as an agent and you these listings, what do you and you these potential listings, what do you do? You pass on them? Do you buy them? Do you list them? What do you do with these properties? One of the big things I got going, this was before I met Maria, is I was doing short sales. And I started really just talking to a lot of agents because they didn't want to deal with short sales. This was when short sales was at the beginning. They didn't have a short sales team, nobody helping with this stuff. They had the agent had to figure it out. And they don't want to do it. Right. And so when I come in the office as an investor and I tell them anything that you have that you don't want to deal with, give it to me. And I make sure you get money. But how are you going to get money if there's no equity? Don't worry about it. As an investor, we are good at creating solutions. So obviously you can do short sales, you can do a lot of things, but I would tell him, don't worry about it. Just bring me this. There is actually a business here. You remember Juan, Maria? He is in business right now with somebody. That's all they do. They take all the stuff here and that's all they take. So when people give up and don't want to deal with it, you know, being individual owners, agents, and their business basically boomed overnight because nobody wants to deal with this property, and they say, "Give it to me, and any profits at the end, I split with you." They have so much business right now, they don't know what to do with, literally, okay? Because a lot of agents, a lot of investors don't want to deal with these properties. But this is where the gold is. And you say, how am I going to deal with these properties? Well, that's why you have to be working with an investors or learn from an investors that can see the opportunities. Okay. So Michelle said, I have an investor who looks for properties with existing renters that might want to sell or finance to own the property. Yeah, that's a strategy. Teresa says, I've passed a couple of them. Exactly. You know, and there are agents every day passing on these properties, which are actually a gold mine. So think about that. You might not be able to take care of this as an agent, but as an investor, this is your gold mine. There are companies that out there, like I don't remember the company name for the one he works with. That's all they want is this type of issue. They want property with problems because nobody else wants them and they know how to make money off of this property. Isn't that great?
Yeah, there's a lot of competition. When you guys were saying you can't find serious leads, there is a ton of competition as agents because you're only competing in a pool where, I mean, just in St. Louis, the last time I looked, I think 17,000 agents. My gosh, it's not that big, this place. And amazing that we have 17,000 agents and you're competing all for the same properties. Because again, what do agents want? They want the perfect property with a perfect seller and that can sell quickly. Otherwise, you don't get paid. You
Right.
might, you know how many times they cancel, how many cancel listings and so on. I'll say this, I hate how I think agents are the most underpaid people in the universe. Who else works for free all the time? It's really, really unfair. So yeah, I mean, to me, being an investor was a no-brainer in that sense. Like I don't like working for free. So I think that you know, this is a great combination for agents because of that, to be able to take advantage of any situation they run into, whether they're going to list it or or do
Right.
something as an investor.
And that's the thing. You can still be an agent. We're not telling you here, quit being an agent. This is not what it's about at all. But to have the option to also be an investor, and you can maximize things and knowing what to do when you have this stuff across, not just you, your brokerage office. They get this stuff all the time. I remember when I was used to work at this big brokerage company, and we had sales meeting. And every time in the sales meeting, we say, okay, what type of leads do you have? And they would share all this type of stuff that could not be listed. And what if you were in a position to say, send them my way? I know what to do with them, right? This is the hard to sell listings opportunities is huge, guys. You have no idea. Okay, let's move on. Your license is your advantage. It gives you instant credibility, implied trust, protects you legally and ethically, gives you an edge over unlicensed investors. Okay, this is a big one to think about. More and more states are going towards you being licensed to be an investor. Right now, there's about wholesaling, but I'm thinking they're probably going to require, even if you do fix and flips and so forth. The reason is they're regulating the industry. Like anything else, when people take advantage of something, that's going to get things into place to help that. And it's good. It protects you. It protects the investor. It protects the buyer. It protects the industry. Okay, because if they don't, people are very good at taking advantage and run with it, right? So instead, but it has to come from you to see this as a benefit, to say, okay, they're not telling me it's illegal to do this. I just have to do it ethically and I have to be licensed. That's it. And also flip the fear. Will I lose my license into thinking this is your superpower? I have something that is going to give me an edge over the competition. I'm not worried that the state is going to require for everybody to be licensed because guess what? I'm ahead of that, right? So it gives you a lot of positive benefits and people tend to trust you. Like I said, one of the things when I was licensed, I would tell when I was out there in my marketing material or when I talk to people, it says, I am a licensed real estate broker. However, I'm not soliciting for a listing. I'm not soliciting for business. I'm actually looking for myself to invest. Okay. So it gave me the credibility. It gave me, okay, she's a professional. By the same token, I told them, I'm just doing it for myself. So by doing it that way, actually, it was a very positive way to do it. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about some misconceptions, the elephants in the room here, okay? So number one, investing hurts your reputation as an agent. How many of you think of that way? Um, investing hurts your reputation as an agent. I know that because a lot of my students say that, I I I don't want to talk to our agents. I don't want to let them know I'm an investor. What if I tell them and they find out and then they don't want to work with me anymore? Anybody um, recognizing any of those statements? Okay, let me tell you, that's you thinking that. I never thought about that, not for 1 second. I never thought to invest in my reputation as an agent. Brokers won't allow it. Well, there are ways to work with that. Okay, so what some of the scripts I will share with you tomorrow for anybody staying here is that how you talk to your broker. Now, some brokers will not do it no matter what. Okay, so that's the thing is like if you find a broker that doesn't understand that, like Doreen says, brokers don't understand that, don't try to convince them to do it. Go find another broker. If you are in a position to be an independent broker where you can have your own one person brokerage shop, then do that. That's what I did for many years. I worked for with our brokers. One of the reasons I was working under our brokers as an agent is because honestly, I didn't want to have to keep up on my files and my books for random audits, because I got audited when I was a sole agent. I got audited when I was under another agent because of the amounts of transactions I was doing, that I was red flagged. But the thing is, another agent, if it's a broker keeping your license, they have to worry about that. I don't. So it freed up a lot of my time. But a lot of brokers don't understand it, but there are a lot of brokers who do. So don't start with saying, oh, yeah, well, it's hard to find broker understand it. Yes, it's not. Honestly, most of the brokers do understand, especially if you go to the smaller company, mom and pops, or you become an independent broker. I don't have time. Now, some of you here tonight did share that I don't have the time, right? It's about time blocking and time management. Trust me, everybody here has 24 hours, including Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, and us. Okay. So, how you do with these 24 hours is what is going to take the business to the next level. Now, I can say that a lot of women have to juggle. They feel like they're the only ones who can juggle so many things. But you have to give priorities. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to clean the house and take the dogs out and landscape the yard and cut the grass and take the kids. Well, they take the kids as priority. Okay, take care of your kids. I had four of them. I understand. But some of the other stuff, as soon as you can, delegate it out. Okay, you don't have to do everything. And so better time that you carve your time to do the things that matter the most, that can make a difference in your life. Because at the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself. I always say the analogy like when you are on a flight and before you take off and they give you the safety briefing, they say, put your oxygen mask on first before you help your child. And so you have to realize that you need to get the oxygen first before you can help somebody else. I don't know how to renovate, manage tenants, or calculate rehab costs. Well, that's why you have people like us that can help you with that, right? Wholesaling is illegal. Oh, I love this one. It's not, okay. I personally don't like the word wholesaling. I think flipping the contract is a better term. That's how we used to call it back in the days, because really that's what you do. You're not selling a property, you are assigning or selling a contract. And as long as you understand that and you're very transparent with that, even as an agent, I never ever had an issue. Never, not once. What about you, Maria? You have an issue wholesaling?
No, in fact, I mean, title companies help you do it. And again, brokers know what's going on. A lot of brokers are investors too, because they're smart. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's perfectly legal. Otherwise, title companies wouldn't let you close. So it's, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I started thinking, Laura, I've been thinking about this. I'm like, why do people think wholesaling is illegal? I think it's wholesalers putting out the word. They don't want competition. They tell people it's illegal, don't do it. That has to be the only explanation that makes sense.
Well, and this is kind of funny, guys, but this is totally true. So when I stumbled into wholesaling back in 92, 93, I was actually buying a property as a rental, and I sat at the table with this broker at the title company, and I realized the name on the contract was not the same name on title. So I said, what's going on here? And he says, well, I'm flipping the contract to you. So first of all, I didn't trust this broker for what I could throw it. Okay, he even looked slimy, if you know what I mean. And so there was something about him. So what happened is I said, okay, can I come and work for you? So because I wanted to learn, right? Then I went back home, and what did I do the following day? I called the real estate commission, and I was like, let me ask you, can you legally do this? So to make a long story short, the real estate commission taught me how to flip contracts. They told me what clause I need to put on it. They told me what disclosures I had to put on it being an agent and everything else. So with that said, the real estate commission in Missouri taught me how to flip contracts. And so I was like, okay, guys, So the fact is, it's not illegal, but you have to do it a certain way. You have to make the certain disclosures. If you have to be licensed, or you have some states like Pennsylvania, it's kind of weird. Like you don't have to be licensed, but you have to have a license, like in Philadelphia only. And it costs $200 a year to get a license, like I get a fishing license to just wholesale, but literally there is a link. I actually sent it to one of the students because she was in Philadelphia. There is a link. You have to fill out an application, pay $200. You get like your license, like you get an fishing license to wholesale in Philadelphia. It's crazy. But do whatever you need to do and do it. So then you can do whatever you want, right? Last but not least, a lot of people think you need money. You need money, you need to 20% down and so forth. Again, that comes from a mindset of saying you need money to make money, right? But in real estate is actually one of those exceptions where you really don't need money to make money. So, like I said, when I started, late night infomercials, and I bought all these books that had no money down, nothing down, any creative financing. If I had anything like that on the cover, I would buy it. And one time I was talking to somebody, and I bought this carton sheets program that's called Nothing Down. back in 91, a late night infomercial, and I devoured the information. That was actually one of the first things I did to start investing in real estate. And then I met a lady a few years ago, and she's like, I bought that too. But she said, the only difference is you actually implemented was in the course. I didn't. And now we are, 25 years later, and obviously she never done any real estate, but I did. So the thing is learn, acquire the knowledge, and then you implement, and then you see how things unfold. Okay, so are you with us so far? Okay, so the path to freedom here is as an agent, you have unpredictable commissions. You work a lot. I'm sorry, but as an agent, I work so much more, including Sundays, because I had open house, than I ever did as a real estate investor. Dependence on rates and market, you are tied to that. Okay. So as an investor, actually, when the market does weird things, that's when you make the most money. So that's the thing, as an agent, you're dependent on the market and the rates. You work nights and weekends. Now, as an investor, you have multiple income streams because you can buy rentals, you can fix property, you can wholesale it. It's good that you do both. For example, do two strategy. Let's say that your focus is to buy rental properties, but you're gonna come across a lot of leads that you don't want to buy as rental. Yes, no, you will do. What do? You either list it because you're an agent, or you wholesale it. See, for every lead you come across, there is so much you can do, even more than just a regular investor because you're also licensed. More stability and predictability. If you time the business a certain way, you have money coming in all the time. And then you have a community and freedom. This is what we're here, Real Estate Investing Women, is to build a tribe, a community, women that support each other into this. Because for many years, it was thought to be real estate investing is more of a man business. Now, agents, yes, there are a lot of women that have been over the years as agents. A lot of them that want the flexibility, freedom. Maybe they do one deal a year, but whatever. Whereas investors is more new as far as a lot of women coming into the investing arena because it has been such a man's business. Maria, do you want to add anything to this?
I think that until you try life as an agent, you don't really realize how tough it is because you have this uncertainty, something going to close. Even when you finally get that lead or that deal, that listing, you have the uncertainty, is it going to close, not close? It really gnaws at you. And it really is problematic. One of the most beautiful things that happens as an investor is that you have options depending on your lifestyle and what you need, what your family needs, what your goals are in life. You have the ability to do different things with these deals where you can set yourself up to have recurring income, or basically it allays a lot of those fears that I think are so real when you are an agent. As an agent, you're an entrepreneur, but you're so limited by what you can do. So you take on all the risks of entrepreneurship because you don't really have money coming in regularly, but at the same time, and you have so many expenses, but at the same time, you just don't have the benefits. And so really being an investor is the next logical step because it resolves a lot of these issues where, again, you don't have to invest so much money as an agent. For example, when you do a listing, you have a lot of expenses with that. You have marketing that you have to do. You have to share your commission. I mean, some brokers are ridiculous, like 50%, even Keller Williams. I used to be with Keller Williams and they're a huge company. So that's why I don't have a problem mentioning them. 30-something% break on commission. I'm like, they didn't do any of the work. Why are they taking all this money? As an investor, you just, even on the same amount of money, you make so much more. And when you work as hard as you do as an agent, it's just not fair. I keep saying this because I realize being in both shoes, how much easier it is to just do your own deals. And you can still get the commission, by the way. You can still be representing yourself and you get commission or whatever, but then you make, all the rest as well. So yeah, it's incredible, especially when I see these two lifestyles side to side, like you have them on this slide, which is very powerful for anybody. For you, it's been a while. For me, it's very real. Every time I get reeled in, like as an agent, because maybe it's a past client that I want to help or whatever, I'm like, man, I'm not getting paid enough for this so much. You're putting out signs, you're doing open houses. I'm like, oh, like you said, when you break it down by the the money per hour, it's just not even comparable. So yeah, it's very
Yeah.
true. This thing.
So, okay. So again, we're going to open up here for Q&A here in a couple of minutes. So if you do have any questions that are specifically about, being an agent and also being an investor. And like I said, we are going to give to somebody that is going to stay here until the end. The agent to investor toolkit is going to be really important for you to get that as well. It will give you a lot of what you need. It's like a template on how to talk to your broker, must know disclosures and compliance best practices. Now, this changes all the time, okay? So this is not something that it might not be valid in a month or two, but we're going to give it as of today. So, and also book your strategy session now if you want to learn more about how we can help you either to transition from agent or to add being an agent investor to what you're already doing as an agent. So the team has put the link on there. And now, okay, so was this good information? At the end of the day is this. I know a lot of you are worried about being an agent and being an investor. It's very tempting to be an investor, but you're afraid. You're afraid that that is not legal. You're afraid of doing something wrong. You're afraid of having other agents, look down at you because you're an investor. You're afraid of what you tell your broker. You're afraid of whatever, right? As women, we definitely are afraid of the failure too, right? What if? The thing is this, coming from me and Maria, that have walked this talk for a long time, you're nothing to be afraid of. You're nothing to be afraid of. And it's like, you can add that as another stream of income. Like I said, just think about it. All the listings that are hard for you to do anything with because there is no commission, there's no equity, there is something wrong with this property and you can't do anything. These are actually gold mines for investors. And to learn how to do that, to learn what to do with these listings and these problem properties is huge. And now maybe you cannot list it, but you can make money as an investor on a property and you are on the front seat of getting these deals all the time. So, think of it that way. And as long as you have full disclosures and compliance, you have nothing to worry about. Nobody's going to tell you. If anything, the real estate commission is going to like you more because you are compliant and you're licensed as an investor. So there is a huge benefits to that as well. Okay.
And I was just gonna say, Laura, because it might be somebody's in the back of somebody's mind. I know agents that think this way, so I'm just gonna mention it. Some people that think that investing is harder than being an agent. Let me just tell you that being an agent is 10 times harder than being an investor.
I thought so.
Oh, absolutely, like no doubt. Being an investor is like a breath of fresh air after you've had to deal with all compliance. I'm not joking. I have had my forms change 4 times since the NAR settlement last year. I just went in, I had to send out a listing. I had to replace all my forms again. I had to figure out how they needed to be filled out this time. And I'm like, I don't get paid enough for this. I was literally thinking today, maybe I need to give up my license. I've had it. And not that I want to, I like having my license, but literally they're so annoying, so much work that I don't get paid for. I don't get paid for all this admin. So if you hate admin as much as I do, it's definitely time to to become an investor because there's a lot of nonsense going on, in the industry.
Yeah, and like I said, and the fact is, somebody was telling me today, as she's in California, and she was like, "Oh my gosh," she said, "our contracts is getting so long, it's ridiculous." She said, "By the time all the contract and the addendum, she has to put it's like 30 pages long." And I was like, "My contract that I use as an investor is 2 pages long, two." Okay. And the thing is, even we had Dawn, she actually bought 14 properties just using that contract with two pages, 14 properties. She bought a package and she used the same contract. So as an investor, you don't have to do it. And honestly, as an investor, you don't want to bog it down with a heavy contract because you're going to scare a lot of people away, and because with the agents, let's face it, you have to cover, they have all this fine print to cover themselves because things happen, and they want to make sure everything stays covered. And then something happens and they add another paragraph and something happens. That's why the contracts keep getting forever long. But yeah, you don't have to do that as an investor. You keep a very simple, very streamlined, 2 pages, 2 contingencies, call it a day and move on. And it doesn't take me more than a minute to fill out the contract. Okay. Anybody that has questions tonight?
I have a question. Can I ask a question? Because I'm curious. Do you guys, are you active agents, like you actually have listings right now, or how are you finding? Okay, Michelle does. How are you finding your market? Like, are you seeing how the market is changing out there? And I know you guys are in different areas, so because I can tell you in St. Louis, it's rough for agents right now. Yeah, past clients and referrals. Yeah, yeah, and referrals will keep you alive in tough times, but eventually, eventually you do need the new leads. So don't have anything comparing to very new. Okay, Christy. Okay, or investors calling. Yeah, because investors are buying. And this is a great time to be an investor. With the uncertainty in the market and where we are with things, actually investors are starting to make even more money. A lot of people, for example, right now really need investors to come in because like you said, and you're aware of, buyers are just not buying. So stuff is sitting, and that's where investors come in and resolve situations. So yeah, would rather be an investor. Yeah, I don't blame you. Seriously, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
Being both is awesome. Yeah.
That's the thing. Okay, so let's talk about 2 years ago, right? 22, 23, when properties were selling more than the asking price, right? It was a great time to be a real estate agent because if you had a listing, it's like, you will sneeze and they're already sold, right? But then now is a great time to be an investor. So see how you can do the best of both worlds here. You can say, okay, now investors were still buying during 2023, but now investors are really taking the time because, like Warren Buffett says, it says, be greedy when everybody's fearful and be fearful when everybody's greedy. And so that's the mentality of an investor. That's why you go out there and buy during times like this, because everybody's fearful and this is the time that you have to be greedy, right? So Warren Buffett says the best. But that's the thing, and that's what people realize, because people go out there and buy when the stock prices go up. I mean, it's like, why? But when real estate prices go crazy, okay, now I buy. Because, people kind of follow. It's like a herd of sheep, it kind of follow what everybody else is doing. Instead of saying, wait a minute, this is the time to invest. This is the time to buy, So, but now as an agent and an agent investor, you can do both, right? You can be listing property when the market goes crazy, like 2023. Okay, I'm going to go more that side right now, and then go become an investor when all the other agents are starving, but now you can still feed your plate. And on top of that, you buy rentals so that when the market goes up again, that's okay. I have these rentals set aside that are bringing cash flow every month. So, any commissions is just the cherry on top. So it's really about having the best of both worlds. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and not only, but as an investor, because we teach all these different strategies, doesn't matter what market you're in, you can make money. Maybe in one market or like you said, you buy rentals, in another market you do flips, and you're always doing well, because investors, that's how they support themselves. You have a business that works all the time. I think that's one of the biggest issues with being an agent, is that you have years that you're making so much money, and you have years that's like you can barely survive. And that's stressful. You can't count on that. I mean, it's not like you can go years without eating all of a sudden. You still have the same expenses. You still have the children and, the house. But all of a
Right.
sudden you're going like now, you're going 3 years where nothing is moving. It's really, really tough.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you're an entrepreneur at heart, I was telling somebody there this morning, they were asking me, if you hadn't done any real estate, what would you have done? And would you, I would have figured something else out. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so it doesn't matter to me. I cannot work in a regular job and stand behind the desk. So at the end of the day, if you have that type of free spirit, and you know what the potential is there and the sky's the limit, real estate will give you that unlimited limit. Yeah, the sky is definitely the limit. Yes, I work across all the strategies, and we are a lot more actually. We have wholesaling, buy and hold, and fix and flip. I have one interesting thing that we did a webinar on last week was about land investing. So we're really actually gonna train in land investing, and we're gonna have a speaker. You know him. I don't want to say the names here because I have to talk to him tomorrow morning, actually, but you know who he is, who buys land from tax delinquent properties, and he buys them for free or pennies on the dollars. He's actually located in St. Louis. And so I am talking to him about bringing him to teach some classes about doing that. Really powerful stuff. So yes, we do all the strategy, also going to private money syndication, higher end properties investing, tax delinquent properties. And those are kind of the strategies within the strategy, all selling, buy and hold, and fix and flip. So we have it all. Okay, so well, if there are no questions, I guess we're gonna go now. A couple things. If you did book a call here, I will actually, what I can give you is you can have a one-on-one consultation um, if you become one of the students, either with me or Maria, to help you transition for your own particular state to become an agent. Meaning, we're going to have a one-on-one consultation, and we're going to help you exactly what to do, how to talk with your broker, what the laws are for your state, and really help you doing that. So that's really huge for a lot of you that are worried about the implications because you're licensed. So you want to keep your license, great. You don't want to keep your license, great. But that's why we need one-on-one call. So that's going to be one-on-one call. So if somebody in the team, Chloe or Alex, you can write that down so that I don't forget. I gave that as a bonus because because I say a lot of good things and then I don't remember what I said. But no, I will give you that as a bonus for anybody that books a call before we get off the call here tonight. So you have about 5 minutes to do that. We're going to let the screen open here if you have any questions, and book a call. And then if you decide that, yes, you want to be an investor, we are going to help you to make that transition into keeping your license and also being an investor so that you feel confident that you're not doing anything wrong. Okay. So I work with a lot of students that are licensed across all the states. So I pretty much have an inside track and a lot of students on what they do. And so, yeah, so we can make that transition really, really easy for you. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
and book a call if you're curious. We are completely chill here. We really do this because we do see there are students that are also agents that have a particular set of questions or that sort of mindset before they get started, where they're like, oh my goodness, I wish I'd known this 10 years ago when I was running around ragged. And so that's why we want to bring this to you. And we thought, how are we not reaching, other agents, especially again after the NAR settlement? I mean, agents are being decimated, and this is not fair because you know how hard you work as an agent to get leads or whatever. You could work that, the same amount of time or even less and make that much more money. So we do want to bring this as a service. And so absolutely, we would love to talk with you. There's really no pressure at all. This is mostly to see where you are. If you're curious about becoming an investor, let's talk about your specific situation because everybody's different. And so we can give you pointers on, what would be the best way for you to do that, whether you decide to keep your license or not, because truly It's a whole new world, and you're like this close to it. This is what drives me crazy. It's like all these agents, they really don't know the gold mine they're sitting on. And the agents that know, they don't really talk about it that much sometimes. It's almost like they want to keep it to themselves. So people like me, they go to an entire office of say 200 people and say, hey, just bring me all your leads. Imagine in an office like this, there's me and maybe one other person that do this. And it's really an unfair advantage. And we would love for you to have it as well.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to leave the screen up here for just a few more minutes. So like I said, if you do book a call before we shut down the Zoom, I will also give you a one-on-one game plan where we can specifically talk about your state, your requirements, how to be compliant, how to approach your broker, and so forth. So that's huge. So yeah, looking forward to talking to some of you. Some of you are already students. So if you are licensed, obviously we can help you since you're already within the community. And for everybody else, thanks for spending the time with us. This is a brand new workshop, masterclass. We were kind of experimenting. So, you help us test this. And I think there is definitely, do you think this, let me ask you, do you think this is valuable information, everybody for out there? Do you think that to let agents know? Yes, okay. Okay. Anybody else that wants to give us feedbacks? Do you think it's something that we need to really pursue as far as helping educating agent about the investing side of things? Okay. Yeah, because for a lot of time it's like, taken for granted, right? That we say, okay, obviously they're agents, they can be investors, but that's not true. A lot of agents don't think how to bridge the gap. Okay, great. Okay, thanks everybody for being here. I will leave the Zoom open. Team, leave it open for about 5 minutes, and I will talk to you later. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.